Thank you so much for sharing your precious time. Those who are calling in from all over the world and had to wake up to especially be here, we are so deeply grateful. My name is Tule Gobodo. I am the one half of Brainbow Conscious Creatives. You will hear from my business partner in a few minutes. I keep using her old surname. And you all know what has brought you here. Last week, we experienced a rude awakening to the inequality that exists in this country. And basically how people are enough. They are tired of going unseen. They are tired of going unheard. They are tired of their lives not mattering. And unfortunately, we saw it spill out the way that it did, in very violent, destructive ways. But energy has to go somewhere, unfortunately. And for us, it just gripped us with so much. Firstly, we felt the shame of, or felt so paralyzed. What do we do? What do we do? How do we help? How do we reach out and say to people that we see you, we see your pain, and your pain will not go unseen this time? And that is how we came up with Bonanani. Bonanani means to see each other in Zulu and Xhosa, which is the tribe I'm from. And being seen is one of the most core human needs that we have as human beings. And so that's why, we thought, okay, let us create a space, a storytelling space where people can feel seen. And then as we dug deeper, we are entrepreneurs. We understand the blood, sweat, and tears it takes to start a business. And it can be quite a traumatic experience just being an entrepreneur in general, let alone to then witness and watch your very hard work go up in flames, your sacrifice of not being home and sometimes relationships broken, to see that up in flames has to be traumatic. And so we decided that we want to be able to assist the entrepreneurs and small businesses in townships and inner cities that have been adversely affected by the looting, to get trauma counseling, not just for them, but their families as well. Because you can restock a shop front, you can repaint a building, but how do you, broken people cannot rebuild. You have to address the broken spirit, the crushed spirit as well. And so we are proud to announce that we have partnered with the People's Fund. The People's Fund is an incredible organization that does a lot of empowering of township and inner city entrepreneurs. They provide funding, capital for these entrepreneurs to grow their businesses, and they are in the process of creating a fund especially to address this crisis. And so we will matchmake those entrepreneurs that they're going to help to restock their shops and rebuild their shop fronts with trauma counseling as well. You will hear from one of our partners who will be, who has rallied up some very big hearts to help us, address this huge need. And also our campaign is live on Thunder Fund. We'll have all the links here, so you can donate to the campaign as well, so that we can help as many entrepreneurs as we can. Our goal is to, at the very least, provide 10 entrepreneurs with 6 weeks worth of trauma counseling for them and their family. So that is the goal. That is where the donations, the money that you do give will go to. One of our incredible partners is from the Credo Mutua Foundation. You'll hear from her as well. And we're so blessed that on this day, it would have been Datu Credo Muta's 100th birthday. Mind you, when we planned this event, we did not know that. We didn't know that Utata's birthday would have been on this day. So we feel very supported, not just by your physical presence, but by the presence of our ancestors and those that support us from the great beyond. So thank you so much to the Credo Mutua Foundation for being part of this story experience and helping us to hold space for each other. First up, we have my sister, I always say this to my poor husband, that she was my original partner in life. I always say this. So Kutlwano and I started Brainbow Conscious Creatives many years ago. We have been through many trenches together, not just as sisters and friends, but as business owners as well. And Kutlwano lives in Soweto, so she directly experienced the protests and the riots. And so she's going to give us 5 minutes of her time to tell us her story and what all of this has meant for her. Over to you, Bonanani.
Hello, greetings. Hello, everybody. You know, I'd like to first thank each and every person's guides, each and every person's ancestor from across the world. Thank you for them providing the space for us and providing this time and this contrast that we're experiencing right now, because we are learning that when contrast comes, creativity is pushed and we need to find solutions. So as Tule introduced, my name is Kutlwano Mabusela and I'm the other half of Brainbow Conscious Creatives. And last week, as the world and our country as well woke up to unrest, what I will call it, because there are many names that people give what happened last week. And we saw the destruction of a lot of property and a lot of businesses. I was awakened Monday morning, literally after midnight, by people trying to break into a store in the street where I live. It was a little bit chaotic because they were trying to set it on fire. And my community all came out on the streets, you know, and chased these young men down the road. And I felt so conflicted when this was happening, because at the time, I think in Gauteng, we weren't realizing that the unrest and the protest and the action was coming our way as a province. And when it started to happen, and people in Soweto where I live, especially in my particular neighborhood, came out, they then brought the two young men, very young. When I say young, people looked around the ages of 20. And then started to beat them up, for lack of a better term. And I felt so conflicted because I looked at that young man and I thought to myself, this is someone's child and this is someone's brother, this is my brother. And it made me think of, as Tule put it, the unseen things and the unheard things, and how the thing that is ignored is the one that rots, that festers, that smells. And for the whole week last week, it felt as if South Africa was finally smelling the stench of inequality in our country, and we couldn't stand how it smelled. And one of the things that came up into my spirit immediately was shame and privilege. You know, I remember saying to a neighbor that, hey, at least we have yards that we can chase people into and catch. There are people who are landless, there are people who have no yards, there are people who have no housing. And immediately the guilt started to set in. And what am I going to do with the privilege that I have? And one of the things that came out that I had to deal with is shame. And I think a lot of South Africans felt the same way. You could feel it on social media. A lot of shame started to come up into people's hearts. And one thing that I'm learning about shame is that once it is kept secret, it then festers. And so what I vouch to do as a storyteller, as someone who believes in the power of story, is to tell these stories of inequality and the people who don't get the same slice of the cake in my country that I get. And so as Brainbow, we are not only doing these kind of events to kind of help fundraise and be actively fundraising for businesses and people who are like us, who are struggling just in terms of their headspace, their mindsets as well. But we're also embarking on a storytelling journey via a documentary about what it takes to be not just a small business in South Africa, but what it takes to try and employ the young, to try and give people a sense of dignity and job opportunities in this country. And what does it take, and what are the barriers, and what are the barriers to access, and what are also the joys about opening a business and leaving a legacy for your family. And so Bonanani is the introduction to that, to say, let's see each other. And as Brainbow, we're choosing to see the small business owner in their small little ways and leave a legacy for their families.
Thank you so much, Kutlwana. You know, when you called me on Sunday, telling me about what had happened, I felt the same paralysis. You know, I went into what I now understand to be grieving, grieving the country that I once knew and the current state of it, and knowing that we would never be, the same again. And already we're on the edge as people in terms of mental health, as it is. And this has just pushed us over the edge in terms of, our mental hygiene, our mental well-being, our mental fitness, as well on a spiritual and emotional level. So our next speaker, I want you to see her because she's so fabulous. Please meet our beautiful Michelle. So I met Michelle on a group called Rebuild SA that literally came and quickly tried to mobilize as many people to clean up, South Africa. It's actually called Clean Up SA. And all of us had been engaging from all over the country on the group, planning cleanup events, basically, where we could go and start doing the cleanup. And then when I put up the event on the group, and I had paused to put the event up on the group for some reason, until we had realized that, we want to target helping entrepreneurs with their mental space. And so when I put it up, Michelle was like, literally in a second, she was like, yes, I'm here, please, I'll donate my time and my expertise to this cause, because she knows how important, having a headspace that is strong and resilient is in the journey ahead to rebuilding. So welcome, Michelle, and it is over to you, my sister.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I just wanted to say thank you to your lovely ladies at Brainbow Creatives for putting this together. So I just want to share a little bit about community, what it is, and the power of community in a time of crisis like this. For me, a very beautiful saying is, crisis creates ruin, but community creates renewal. And I think that's kind of where we're at the moment in our country. So if we can imagine, you have experienced one of the most disruptive events in decades, and also one of the most transformative and united moments in the history of our democracy, I think, this past week. Never in a million years have I ever thought that any of us would come together the way we have. And I don't think any of us has seen such devastation in such a long time. It was really heartbreaking for us. So not to mention all the numerous health, the environmental, the social, the political, even the economic crises that we've been going through since the start of the corona pandemic. It's had a huge impact on mental health. So these are all threatening our only shared bond, and that bond is definitely community. These crises are challenging our ability to care for one another. It stops us from getting together, and it stops us from imagining a future as a community and a nation. So why do people help more during crisis? It's mainly because taking action during a crisis helps us to restore a sense of control and overcoming feelings of hopelessness and loneliness. It's also a way for us to reconnect and become a part of each other and our nation. It's in our nature to want to be a part of a solution. So coming together creates a mindset shift from chaos and overwhelm to resolution and power. Going through this destructive ordeal last week, I think we have stepped up. We've all come together to coordinate meaningful and effective ways to care for, understand each other, and also action to unite and create hope not only for those in need, but for every person in our country. I think this crisis has brought us together to create a purpose, not only for ourselves, but also for our future generations. Community actually far extends the neighborhood you live in, the society which you are a part of. I think for us, it's becoming clear. It means family, friends, colleagues, the shops we frequent, the restaurants we go to, even the stranger in the parking lot. So being part of a community is an integral part of human and social development, and it also creates a foundation for well-being, enabling us to reach full potential. Community is investing in people, helping them heal, feel worthy. It's to grow, it's to feel a part of something much bigger. It's connecting us on that physical, emotional, and mental level. Being part of a community or a tribe, as they call it these days, enables us to create support structures for each other, and it opens a bunch of avenues for healing, for love, and unity. So from crisis we build, we renew, and we definitely progress. Communities form interactions in crisis, and this encourages us to set and achieve positive goals. It teaches our youth how to feel, how to show empathy for each other, how to establish and maintain positive relationships. And I think it helps us all make more responsible choices. So when we feel a part of each other, we feed our human need for love and acceptance. It's up to us as a community to impart this resilience and understanding to our children. And I think it will inspire them to start working together and to overcome. So with all that has happened this past week, I think we all have seen firsthand what community means, how it brings us together and how it can unite us. I think we've seen how community strengthens bonds, makes way for love, care, and seeing each other, as you said, that when love is the answer. So I think personally, this is what community means for us in times of crisis, to unite, stand together, lay a foundation for generations to come, and crisis can create stronger bonds and better communities, and strong, resilient communities can definitely overcome crisis. Thank you, Kule. Over to you.
Oh, that was, don't cry in front of all these beautiful people.
Don't cry. You said you're not going to.
Oh my goodness. And that is exactly what is driving us here at, as Brainbow Conscious Creatives. The conscious part of our business is on purpose. Our goal and our mission in life is to love people. Is to create spaces where people can be seen, can feel safe, and can feel like they belong. And so we really understand, not just from a human point of view, but just from a business point of view as well, how integral the community in which we operate in helps to us to build a legacy, helps us to propel, helps us to grow our business, and so that is why, I was so touched when I didn't even ask for psychologists or coaches that can donate their time. I just said that this is the fundraising that we're doing. And Michelle literally was like, I'm a psychologist, I am a coach, I know psychologists, I know coaches, and we are going to get this party started. So thank you so much for that really important conversation and story about community. I really felt that. Our next speaker is Seth, and Seth is in the transformational and inclusion space as a storyteller, as a consultant as well. He has beautiful associations with Heartlines, which is an organization that creates stories that connect, that pull on the heartstrings, but not only in corporate South Africa, but in the media as well. Seth also works with a lot of youth organizations and really engages with the youth in his community to help them understand how incredible they are, to activate their potential, and to help them, shine as the best versions of themselves. So over to you, Seth.
Hello, everybody. I hope that the picture that you just saw didn't mess you up, because this is the COVID look. That was a pre-COVID look. But I hope that you're well. Now, they told me that some of us have muted cameras and mics. So for the get-go of my sharing with you, I'm going to just give you the title shot. The title shot of my time with you in these few minutes is simply to say, sharing good vibrations. And I want to land it in a nice interactive way. So please, if you would, and I know we'll be sitting and whatever, but had we been out and about, I ask you to stand with me if that's okay, and join the vibe. And you can unmute, keep your cameras on mute, but you can unmute your video so I can see you. And our program directors, they can catch a screenshot of the action we're about to create. We're going to create an awesome rhythm. You got to do a 2 stomps, 2 claps, 2 snaps, and a woo. So this is just to get us in together, right? Let's go on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Woo! Allah, I'm feeling the vibe. Okay, now let's make it with purpose. You heard about Bonanani. I'm saying to you, Sawubona. I see you. I acknowledge you. You are beautiful people inside and out. And with that purpose statement, we want to send good vibrations. So this time, look at that screen, the people that you can see and the ones that we can't, and share some good vibrations with those people. Are you ready? And all you got, you don't have lots of words. All you got is just a 2 stomps, 2 claps, 2 snaps, and a woo. So breathe in. Breathe out. I'm going to count us down. On 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Woo! Woo! And now this is the last one. Please unmute your mics. When we create some sound, it's being recorded. This is for Bonani. Please unmute your mics. It's okay if there's no timing. Even if the timing is out, that's great. I see Dusty Ross worried now. That's okay. Remember, sharing good vibrations. Are you ready? 5, 4, 3,
2, 1.
Beautiful. Now you can go back to muting. Go back to muting your mics. I hope you enjoyed that good vibration. You can keep your videos on. I like to see you if that's okay.
Yes.
And we have a beautiful mosaic right here. But you can mute your mics and let me continue on. So I'm from LA. Not that one. Not the one you're thinking about. Okay. Some of you, when I say LA in the chat box, if I say LA, you already be saying what? I see. Dusty already. I can read your lips. That says Los Angeles. Hi, Kona. I'm from Lower Alberton, Johannesburg South. Hala, la. So a few years ago, we moved out into the South, and I'm settled here with my love partner, Marisha, and my beautiful 4 children. And yes, storytelling is a part of our lives. We sit around with fires. We sit around with our family. I remember sitting around with my granny. Some of those storytellers are gone on. And so I'll land a bit of the story vibe with you. But remember the caption, sharing good vibrations. I've always lived in many South. So when you think about South in Johannesburg, those of you that might be from other parts of the world, we remain as one of the most impoverished parts of the city. If they say Joburg South, you ask anybody, it depends where you go. And if I say to some people that I'm from Lenasia or Lenasia South, they'll be like, yo, hey. It's almost, it's like when people hear internationally, they hear Alex and they go like, oh, my word, Alex, you come from Alex. And those of you that were in the city, and if you were in Johannesburg, and if I'm in the north, which I sometimes am, for work, for corporate work, and to say that you're from the south, you got to hold your own. So, and I say that to you geographically, okay? But when I say I'm from many Souths, I'm from the south of Johannesburg, yes. And I'm from, I'm not that far deep south, but we grew up, like today I live in LA, Lower Alberton, that many of you know. 25, 30 years ago, I would have no business living here, but I do. Areas are changing. So think about that, many Souths. But not am I only from the south of Johannesburg, I'm from the south of the continent. Yebo, yes? All the way from the south of the continent, South Africa. Some folk in Africa for many years, they kind of had different maps. They thought that we were not even part of Africa, but we are. We are Africans. If you are in South Africa, you're part of the African continent. We are one continent, yes, with a great diversity of people. But the South don't stop there for me. It keeps on rolling. Not only am I from the south of Joburg or the south of the continent or South Africa, but I'm from the south of India. That's right. You heard it correctly. Yeah, well, yes. From the south of India, in a place that would be known as Tamil Nadu. Okay. And I tried a few years ago, because if you live in my country and you live in South Africa, they'll say to you, you're an Indian. And what does it mean? You're an Indian. Especially now in these times, we've been watching in Phoenix and Kwamashu and those areas, some interactions that are not so good. So I figured, let me test this. I went to India. Okay. 2007, I landed in Bangalore at the airport. And when I got there, I figured, let me try this. They said I'm Indian my whole life. So I got into the line that said nationals. And I figured I'm going to do this. I'm not going to go with the internationals. And by the way, there were some famous dudes there in the international line. But on the national line, I said, I'm going to walk through this line. And as I got into the line, you won't believe, I even tried to make myself look Indian, because I said I am. I even tried to position my body properly. I tried to move my head, tried to move my head a little bit like an Indian, And I even said, let me just put on, if I can, let me just put on the accent, if I can. But anyway, as I got into the line, the customs official, he said, hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Sorry, sir. You're not Indian. You're not Indian. And there, I had to work out my identity that I'd been told differently my whole life, okay? And so those of us here today that are from the land space of South Africa, if you've been born here, you're part of the land across our country. To speak our truth, to land in our spaces, but also to go outside the norms that we've been who you are. But I want to say to you all today, people of hope. And as I close, it's important for us to think about ourselves as storytellers of.
So thank you so much, Seth, for re-energizing us and, those good vibrations, because as we all experience, a trauma like the one we are currently going through can really lower our vibrations, and you can't find solutions in the vibrations of the problem. And so that is an important one, or an important lesson that Seth touched on, that as disheartening as what is happening is, we need to provision ourselves as well. We need to be able to push ourselves to a vibration that is higher, so that we can help, so that we can assist, so that we can hear inspirations like Bonanani, for example. So our next gorgeous guest is a beautiful, okay, I know this is nepotism, but I don't care. Mandima is my cousin, but I always say to her that she's my twin flame, that we found each other in the great beyond, and we're like, hey, I'm taking you with me into this next physical experience. Mandima does a lot of work in the LGBTQ community through Tent Talks and the Grand Ball, where she creates spaces where queer bodies can express themselves, can tell their stories, and can feel seen. So we are so honored and so blessed to have a representative from our brothers, sisters, binary community members who can talk to us about, what community means and what it looks like when we actually see each other. So over to you, Mandima.
Thank you, Kule. Hello, everyone. I'm not going to talk about what Kule just said, us being family, because it's nepotism, but all the love. My name is Mandima Kunta, and as Kule introduced me, I do work in the LGBTI community, and I do it under my company, which is called The Fam. And I just want to also firstly say thank you to everybody that's spoken before me. This was really informative and also just really heartwarming as well. I also had to send us a video separately so that we're able to hear exactly what you were saying, because I felt like there's a lot to hear from it. So when Kule approached me for this, I was very excited, because I've had my own opinions on what's happening. And one of the things that she asked us to do was to choose from 3 questions as to what we're talking about. And for me, what I chose to speak about is I chose to speak on Ubuntu, because I believe my life's purpose is to work with community. As a result, COVID-19 has been a big struggle for me because my work and my love language and, you know, what I feel to be my core is working with people. So having to do things digitally is a big shift for me. And I feel like for me and the work that I do within the community, one of the things that that we experience as a community is, you know, right now we're talking about the unrest that we're experiencing in the country, and we're asking for people to be seen and for people to be heard is one of the premises of what we've created under Tint, where we find that as the LGBTI community, we fight and we stand and we do a lot of support of other communities. Yet when it comes to us, we don't get the same back. And that's what has been quite disheartening, even when I've been speaking to people to see what is the representation that we're saying, what is the representation that we're getting from all of this. And a lot of people are saying that they are choosing to sit it out because whether or not we join, there's no space for us. And that's why when Kule approached me for this, I was like, this is perfect to also say that in us asking each other to see each other is for us to also open it up for everyone to be a part of it and for everybody to also feel like they can work with it. So the spaces we've created are spaces where people are, for one, feel safe, because as a community we don't have enough safe spaces, and also as a community we don't have enough spaces where we can express ourselves. So with the work that we do with La Grande Ball, which is based on the 70s in New York, where displaced queer bodies were then coming together to celebrate themselves, and they were doing this in the form of drag, in the form of dress up, and they would also have a runway, and that was the forming the Ubuntu, or forming the community. So when we saw that and we saw the lack that we had in South Africa, we created the same thing. And we also have something called Chat Talks, which is an online queer talk show, again, where we're trying to bring the people together. And the one thing that I've realized from the unrest that's happening and everything that is also going on around us is that the one thing that people are crying for is people are crying for inclusion. And that goes beyond us just as a community. People are crying for inclusion. People are crying for equity in economy. And that's been one of the premises that we have for our properties, is to be able to contribute to that, is to be able to help with that as well. Because I believe that stomach politics are the same everywhere. You can speak to people, you can engage with people as much as you want to, but if you're not able to give them a form of sustenance, then people aren't able to move. And that's what we're hoping. And that's why for me, when this was part of a drive to get counseling to entrepreneurs, because I'm an entrepreneur in South Africa and one that's been quite affected by COVID. And I know that if I didn't have my support structures that I've built around myself, I would be struggling in terms of mentally. So this call for people to fundraise and for us to try get help or to try get support, psychological support, is a big thing for entrepreneurs. Because the one thing that I can say from entrepreneurship, especially as a queer Black woman in South Africa, is that you will be tested on every form. And I feel like the one thing that I've learned from all of the work that I do, and also speaking with our people, by people I mean people in my community, which has been and one of the things that I love about them so much is that we support each other, we work together, and we come together to make sure that whatever the goal is, we are all doing it together. And what's really nice is that there's no judgment amongst us, and also there's a lot of mutual respect. And these are the things that we are now seeing as a community that is missing from the outside collective, because the outside collective is not united. And I'm hoping that organizations or movements such as Bonanani will help with that, is that if we can all have a united front, we're able to move forward. And if we're able to move forward together, we're able to effect real change. And one of the change being that we're helping to create economy. Because that's what the unrest was mainly about, is that people are hungry, people are crying, people are desperate, you know? And I'm hoping that from these kind of things, we're able to address that. And one of the lessons that I've learned personally from entrepreneurship is that you will be humbled. Entrepreneurship will humble you. Entrepreneurship will also put you in a space where you have to constantly check with yourself. So I just want to say also, as an entrepreneur and also as a queer body, as I close, because I have a minute left, is for people to just show compassion to your fellow entrepreneurs, show compassion to your fellow queer people, especially because they're marginalized from a lot of access to things right now. And a lot of LGBT people work within the creative industry, which is now shut down because of COVID. So I just want to say, spread love, spread compassion, and where you can, help the next person. And let's all, like we're saying, rebuild South Africa and get us to be in a better state. Thank you.
Woo! Hallelujah. Oh my goodness. I knew when I brought, when I was guided to say Mandima has to be part of this, we need representation, as much representation as possible so that she can tell her story. I knew you bring the fire. Now you have us going. You have us going. And I love what you said about the fact that there's so much division in the outer community, which doesn't actually exist. We think it exists, but it doesn't actually exist. There's no us and them. There's only us. There's only us here. And that's all we're asking us to do. Can we remember each other? That's all. Can we see each other? Not as looters, not as poor people, not as black, not as white, but as human beings having a physical experience. So thank you so much, Mandima, for that incredible talk. Our next speaker is Perry, all the way from the Netherlands. We have the Netherlands in the house. This is like Ubuntu on steroids right now. We are so blessed. I met Perry, well, I've not met Perry physically, but I met Perry through Eugenie, who is a beautiful soul, and she is here, I know. Eugenie, literally, when I started sending out the call out for this, Eugenie picked up the phone and said, call this number now. Call Perry now. I was like, okay. And I called Perry from the Octopus Movement. The Octopus Movement is a movement that started in the Netherlands, but is now spreading like an octopus all over the world, that gathers and unites non-linear thinkers. Perry's in a very interesting field for me as a DNI practitioner, which is in neural diversity and creating space for people who are neurologically different to exist and feel like they belong. So I'm very, very excited to have Perry tell us his beautiful story. We feel seen. All the way from the Netherlands, we feel seen. So take it away, Perry.
Wow. And I was just thinking, what am I doing here? Who am I to share my story here? I'm in the wrong Zoom meeting, and now you give me this introduction. I'm like, thank you. That's really beautiful. And I feel really blessed. And thank you for meeting all of you. And again, who am I? I will keep it short. I'm just so happy to see you all. I know a few people in the room. They are at the Octopus Movement. I interviewed Chule, which was so much fun, so amazing. And indeed, I am into neurodiversity and multipotentiality. And I agree, we need to see each other. And it took me 45 years to actually see myself, to be very honest. Because I always was the fruitcake. I was always the different one. And I never belonged anywhere. And that was hard. That was hard in school. That was hard at home. That was hard in my relationship, in my marriage, everywhere. I didn't know I have ADHD. I have dyslexia. I have high personal high sensitive personality, all these labels. I had no idea. I was just different and I couldn't fit in. And now, after 45 years, I found out I'm a multipotentialite, and I started to do research. I started to interview people all over the world because I thought, if I'm a multipotentialite, how are the other people doing and how are they feeling? It was so beautiful. I interviewed almost 100 all over the world, and it didn't matter what background, what age, what skin color, what gender, what upbringing, nothing. We connected instantly all the time, every time. And we spoke about all kinds of things like nonlinear people do. And I believe that nonlinear thinking will save the world. I think this is what we need. We need to have nonlinear people connect the dots that are not visible for normal people, for specialists. And we need to create the dots. We need to connect the dots that are not the obvious dots, and save the world and do that together. It's very difficult not to belong somewhere. I found it very difficult. And now, within 5 months, we have almost 500 people in 38 countries together in the membership of this octopus movement. And we created amazing friendships because we understand each other. We're all fruitcakes in a way. We're all different. We all have different brains. We all have labels. My ex-wife thinks I have also bipolar disorder. I don't care. I love labels now because now I understand how it works and I can express myself, how I am and who I am. And thank you for this opportunity here. Thank you for meeting. I want to say so many more things, but I want to stick within the 5 minutes. It's so beautiful to see you all. I think non-linear thinking is the solution. We have to see each other. We just have to see each other. We have to listen to our stories. We have to listen to our own stories as well. We have to talk about trauma as well. If you have trauma, talk about it. Even my son, who's 15, recently created awareness for trauma. He did 5 marathons in 5 days by himself while going to school as well, just to create awareness for trauma. I didn't set him up to do that. I didn't say to him, you need to do this. He did it himself because he thought it was so important to talk about trauma, because we all have trauma, if we like it or not. Eugenie, she interviewed my son, Splinter. I will put that online soon. It's amazing. Let's talk about trauma. Let's talk about nonlinear thinking. Let's connect all the dots that are everywhere, and let's connect with each other. I love you all. God bless you. Do your best.
Oh.
Back to Chile.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love, let us connect the dots that no one else is seeing. And oh man, now I'm so jealous. Oh. I'm so jealous. Oh my gosh, yeah, no. Literally, you would not say that me and Perry met, well, yeah, connected only last week, a few days ago. It's not even a full week yet. It's literally a few days ago. So thank you so, so much. And this is what we're doing. Each and every one of us on this call are connecting a dot somewhere. You know, that linear thinkers or society has tried to pigeonhole us to think about. And thank you so much, Perry, for that, really. And your son Splinter is incredible. I mean, that's insane. 5 marathons in 5 days while going to school, by the way. Like, can he bottle up that energy, or is that a thing that you can sell and put into the market?
It's unbelievable. And afterwards, I asked him, how are you doing? And he said, I'm fine. No problem. No muscle pain. Nothing. I will share the link in the chat. You know, can I be a proud dad of my son? Can I share the Facebook link here so everybody can have a look? It's amazing.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love this. I love us. I love us. Woo. Our next speaker, is, this is like I felt like a presencing that just happened now in this room. Our next speaker is Ugogo Rutendo, and she is firstly the chairperson of the Credo Mutua Foundation, and she is also the co-founder of Ancient Wisdom as well, and she is the holder of wisdom and ancient knowledge systems that Utata has passed down to her, that were passed down to him and him and him. She will be talking to us about what the 100th birthday of Utata Credo means to them as an organization. And yeah, tell us, the story of what Utata would have wanted us to do in terms of continuing his work of Ubuntu, of seeing each other, of loving each other. That's what Utata was about. So I am so literally flabbergasted. When Ugogo said that today is his 100th birthday, I was just like, this is now something else. We are now in another realm. So Togoza, Bantu Badala, thank you so much for your presence. Thank you so much for your support. We feel you, we see you. You see, now they're making me cry because that's how they come through for me. So thank you, Gogo, and take it away before I'm like a ball of tears.
We give gratitude, Kule, and we give gratitude to everybody for the amazing sharings and the very good vibrations that we have stirred up. And indeed, today is an auspicious day. Today marks the centenary of a great legend, Isanusi Credo Mutwa, Vusamazulu Credo Mutwa. And he was born in the majestic mountains of Mfume exactly 100 years ago on the 21st of July, 1921. So today we realize that, as it's written in the chat, that nothing is by chance. We are woven. We are all threads in a mighty tapestry. And we meet here today. We are also woven by the spirit of a wise one, the spirit of an honorable one. Credo Mutwa was a polymath. He was a seer, a sage, a healer, a teacher, a philosopher, a historian, an artist, a playwright, an orator, a sculptor, a writer, an indigenous knowledge systems holder. And if we followed the tracks of time, they would take us back to his teachings found in his books, in his paintings, in his sculptures, in his plays, in his recorded videos, in his cultural villages, but most of all in the memories of those who had the privilege to sit at his feet. And yet, while in some quarters he was celebrated, as many flocked to him to drink of his wisdom, in others, our great Sanusi Vusamazulu Credo Mutwa was misunderstood and he was vilified. And this particularly when he shared his sobering visions of the future. This when he shared his prophecies, many of them disturbing, many of them making us ill at ease. And yet that future that he prophesied is upon us now. It is also a well-known fact that his contribution to ancient knowledge and ancient African knowledge in particular, to art, to heritage, to cosmology, to history, and indigenous medicine spanned over decades, 8 to 9 decades, as well as across national and international boundaries. And he explored through a range of creative media. And through this, he was seeking to preserve, to validate, and to legitimize the various facets of indigenous knowledge systems that have sustained society through the ages. And the time to reignite them is now upon us. The time we're in is what dedicates us as the Credo Mutwa Foundation to protecting, preserving, and promoting the legacy of this internationally acclaimed phenomenon, who I think we can agree was an institution in and of himself. And through this, the foundation seeks to promote his lifelong vision of validating and legitimizing the various facets of indigenous knowledge systems that have sustained society through the ages. Our mission is to contribute to a spiritually liberated society through preserving this legacy and through the provision of platforms of engagement. We see ourselves as children of a mighty baobab, as the seeds that will eventually bear fruit, and the fruit that will produce more seeds to be planted towards a forest of baobabs. And we have to do this because of the time that we're in. Because in South Africa, ancient baobabs that have lasted millennia are suddenly spontaneously imploding. And we have to do this because in Botswana, elephants, the keepers of memory, are suddenly spontaneously stop dropping and dying. Nature speaks. And our great ancestor, Isanusi Vusamazulu Credo Mutwa, spoke the language of nature. And like the mighty baobabs of Africa, the spirit of our great ancestor lives on as he sings his story to the melody of the stars. Indaba, the story. So rather than speak about why we're here today, I beg your indulgence as I instead call in why we're here today. My Indaba, my story will be the invocation. So having been energized with good vibrations from Seth, I invite you now to make sure that your feet are firmly on the ground and you can feel that experience of the pressure of the ground against your feet. And I invite you also to ensure that the top of your head is reaching up to the stars, the song of the stars where Indaba comes from. And I invite you all to take a deep breath in and to exhale slowly. And to take another deep breath in and to exhale slowly. And then once more, a deep breath from the core of the earth, all the way through your body, all the way through your head to the stars. And you exhale as you bring that breath all the way down. And as we breathe, we call in the all-pervasive spirit of Africa, the origin, the cradle of humanity, the cradle of life. We call in generations of ancient ones, the forebears who sit in circle, who call within us, who surround us, who ignite us, who empower us. We call in all ancestors from all 7 directions, the east, the west, the north, the south, those from above, those from below, and those in the center. We call in those great ones of Sankofa, those of the ancient past, and those who are birthing an ancient future, and those who live now at the confluence of time and timelessness. We call in the great mothers, the nurturers, the creators. We call in Ma. We call in the great fathers, the holders, the protectors. We call in Ra. We call in the great warriors who exist in feminine and masculine form. We call in the flowing spirits of the moon and the water, the still spirits of the earth and the mountains, the fiery spirits of the suns, the cleansing spirits of the air and the wind, the spirits of nature. We call in the eagle, the falcon, the hawk, who sees it all. We call in the lionheart, who reveres it all. We call in the elephantine matriarch, who remembers it all. We call in the wisdom of the Nile, the nourisher of the great civilizations, the bringer of Ma'at, she who tracks first time. We call in the obscurity of the Niger River, who takes not the most effective route to the ocean, but the long, winding, accommodating route, the effective route. We call in the power of the Congo River, who brings deepest healing from the deepest wounds, the deepest cutting wounds of Africa. We call in the meanderings of the Zambezi, the mighty curtain of water of Musuwatunya, the waters of life from the great dryings of Mahadi. We call in the Senku River, the Harip or the Orange River, who carries the wisdoms of our ancient Barwa, the Batwa, our First Nations peoples, our common ancestors. And we call in Mutwa in with them. And we call in the ancient wisdoms from within, the activisms from without, and the visionaries that are yet to come. We call in the whisperers of Ubuntu, those plant seeds, collective seeds of consciousness, who raise Bantu, who raise Hantu, Kintu, Kuntu, into an interwoven web of connectedness. We call them Ubuntu. We call in the creative powers of our sacred sites around the world, and we call in the voices of the great seers of the continent, the great leaders of the continent, those whose tracks have long left and those whose paths are yet to form, those who fought for collective freedoms and those who free the struggle that is yet to come. We call in the catalytic energy of Pan-Africa, Trans-Africa, Cis-Africa. We call in 100 years of our great ancestor, our great baobab, Isanusi Usamazulu Credo Mutwa. We call in with him each and every one of us. Bonanani, we see each other. Makukanye, let there be light. And through this, the future can be changed. Gamagu, Tokoza, Tatenda, Asher. Over to you, Clive.
Over to me, how? I don't know about you, community, but I think that was our meditation. That is exactly what we were planning to do by calling on the collective, not just the collective of our physical selves here in this time space reality, but for those that support us from the great beyond. And Ugogo has done that for us. A big part of creating this space was inspired the Maharishi effect that says if 1% of the population can intend, focus, pray, meditate towards the good of all, there has been scientific evidence of communities where there's less violence and crime goes down. Physical evidence. I implore you to look up the Maharishi effect to see that what we did here wasn't just anything. We have created a real shift. We have created a real change. So from Brainbow Conscious Creatives, from the Credo Mutua Foundation, from the Octopus movement, from all of us here, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please do support the fundraising efforts that we have on the Thunder Fund. I should probably put up a link here on this beautiful chat. But you can find the link on all of our social media platforms. And please let us get the much needed urgent help to the entrepreneurs, to the families, to the communities who desperately, desperately need it. I know as an entrepreneur that, you cannot build on brokenness. You cannot build a business on brokenness. You cannot build a family on brokenness. And so your contribution will not only help, this morning when I was having my meditation and I was getting myself into the vortex and aligning myself with pure source energy, this is what I was told, that what we're doing is creating a better feeling place for entrepreneurs to build from. And that this is no small thing. This is huge. This is huge. And the ripple effect will be felt for generations to come. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We obviously have to do this again. I'm just putting it out there now. We obviously have to do this again. We love you. We see you. We hear you. It is an honor to know you. Thank you to all our beautiful speakers who shared their stories, who shared their energy, and who shared their love with us. It is an honor to be seen by you as well. So, I love you. Woo! Yes! Sending you good vibrations all the way from Johannesburg and all over the world. Keep well, keep safe, and be loved.